Welcome back to another episode of Twisted Metal Companion. You guys, we've been on a bit of a hiatus, but just covering another show. But we're back with an interview of first cast member post strike. For those that are tuning in for the first time, I'm Peter. Joining me on the other side of the monitor there, we got Tyler. How you doing, Tyler?
Good.
All right, then. So today's interview, we have Jared Bankens playing Agent Shepard. Jared, how you doing, sir?
Man, I am terrific. I was just covering the plants outside because we're having a hard freeze. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's what I was doing. How you guys doing?
Just trying to stay warm. What was it? 22 degrees right now,
Man, where are
in
you at?
Portland, Oregon.
Mhm. Oof, oof, man, that's cold.
Yeah, a little
Yeah, I think
cold.
we were at 12 degrees last night.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
I mean this
Oh
this is unusual for us. Like, we get some pretty cold winters, but nothing that ever really drops under 20 degrees like this. It was supposed to be like a low of 7 also.
oh my god. I've only felt that a few times. My wife's from the Northeast, and being there during the winter, holy moly, dude, feels like sandpaper just hitting your face.
Oh yeah,
It's
we
so
know the
cold.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just ripping your skin. It's awful. I hate it,
we know
but I
the
love
feeling.
it.
We work in those conditions.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
Is it so, Jared? You're actually like, yeah, the first cast member we're interviewing, but also the first we're speaking to about post strike. Okay, if you're willing to share, can you talk about like maybe what was it like going through the first it started with the writer strike and then the actor strike, and you guys just got a brand new show that just dropped and couldn't promote anything.
oh man, that was so the very humanist part of me and overall how I am is just yes, it was very necessary. We needed to do it, and I'm very glad that we did. But also there was the other part of me that was like, oh wow, I haven't been in the regular workforce in about 10 years and I still have to pay bills. So it was a major struggle, especially like financially it was. And because, like you get so invested into, and I know a lot of people that this happened to during during COVID, where it was, you had this career out, and then it just stops. And you're like, huh, I don't really know what else to do right now. But thankfully, right before it ended, I had gotten a couple gigs. But and that kind of held me over. And now now it's how I thought it would be. Soon as strikes over, holidays are over, then it's just too many auditions, and you're like, ah, God, there's too much. I can't Uh, but it was, yeah. I think it was just stacked with post COVID, having a break for like a year and a half of like really great work, good living, and then that, and it was exhausting.
Yeah, I bet. And we'll
Mhm.
definitely get into the Twisted Metal talk. But when the show dropped, and congrats, for being part of a show that got greenlit for a season two. Little details is known, but just the idea of being a part of that, and I believe it was Peacock's. What, Tyler, do you remember what they call it? Peacock's most streamed show, or
Oh yeah, I don't remember the exact term they used, but yeah, probably yeah, most viewed, most streamed at the time.
That was really cool.
yeah. But Jared, what was the reception like from like friends and family when the show dropped?
Well, like, oh man, I'm my friend. I mean, it was a lot of excitement, and then a lot of phone calls too. And I'm like so bad with that because I just don't want, because I'm like, if we could just talk for like 5 minutes, that'd be great. But I don't want to talk about like 30, 45 minutes, then ask, what have you been up to? Nothing. I'm on strike right now. I can't talk about it. But it was, man, it was nice, especially I liked getting messages um, from people that were, I guess there was a lot of carryover from Mitch's show Doughboys, because I had done an episode on there. And so I was getting messages from like these people I didn't know. They were saying, God, I hated you so much. God, I hate it. And I was like, oh man, yes. I always wanted to get hate mail like that. And I told MJ, uh about that. I was like, dude, this is so great. I've never received like hate mail. And he was worried at first that I was getting actual hate mail. It's like, oh my God, are you okay? So it's like, no, dude, I mean, like, they hate the character, but they said that they hated, but it's a good thing. Reza did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, no, MJ's such a great person. Like, he's always going to think about somebody else first. Like, wait, what? You
Oh
got what
yeah.
kind of
Oh,
mail?
I love that guy. He's
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic.
Super sweet dude. So like let's kind of go. You were actually born in Louisiana as well. So you were born and raised in that area?
Oh yeah, man. Unfortunately. No, it's a cool place. Yeah, it was. I was born in this little town, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Um, and I was gonna go to Los Angeles, and this was around the time the tax credits were really, really, really amazing. And they're still good in New Orleans, but I mean I got my career started doing character work, and then they just ended up liking me, and then like now I mean I work all over, but I mean this is my home base for now in New Orleans.
What made you decide to kind of get into acting? Did you have like the acting bug early on? Were you, like auditioning for like, plays and stuff in high school?
Oh no, this was so funny story. This was something I've been doing since I was like really, 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 really little. My dad ran a business, and he had quite a few employees. Um, and I would just dress up as different people, and pretend to be all these different people because I grew up in I grew up in this sort of church where there wasn't any, you weren't allowed to go like to the movie theater and stuff like that. And I did get to watch some movies, but it was really just I liked playing pretend. I liked pretending to be other people, and it ended up being just sort of some survival mechanism as a kid. The way I grew up, and by the time I got to college and decided, well, I guess I'll study theater, and then I loved it. And then I was like, wait, you mean you will pay me to do this? And then the first time I had gotten a paid gig was like 10 years ago, and yeah, I've been doing it since then.
So Venom was one of your earlier credits. How did you get the bit in the movie Venom?
Oh, dude, that was I did this audition tape. I know it was for. It was what did they call it? They called it Antidote. It was something like that. I didn't know what it was, and then my agent says shoots me a text, says, "Hey, are you free?" I was like, "Yeah." And he called me, and he said, "Dude, it's for Venom. Do you know what Venom is?" I was like, "You mean like the Spider-Man character?" And he said, "Oh my God, yes." I was like, "Oh, that's rad." So anyway, I shot the tape, and I was doing construction at the time in Texas. Um, and so I had to do a callback, a live callback. So I drove, geez, I drove from Texas to Atlanta um, to be there. And I did it like after I finished doing my work. I ran home, I showered, and then I just drove overnight. So by the time I got there, I was completely zonked out because I just drove all night to get to Atlanta. And casting director Tracy, she had called me in, and I met Ruben, and he kind of chatted a bit and described it to me like it was he had asked me if I'd had familiarity with Alien. I was like, absolutely. And he said, like the chest burster scene. I was like, oh yeah, I gotcha. So I pretty much just did what I did in the movie in there, and then he clapped like laughing. Like when you see something that like you think is cool, you go, "Oh man, that was off," like that. That's pretty much what he did. And I was like, "Okay, well that felt good." And by the time I got back home, I had gotten a phone call. Um, so I was in Atlanta for 4 days. That was man, that was fun.
No, lack of sleep may have helped that scene.
I think it did. I think it really did because I was exhausted, and the last thing I really wanted to do was just throw myself all over the place. But what can you do?
I was gonna say it must be interesting having an audition where it seems like they probably want to know how good can you convulse? How do you
I
writhe?
know. He was like, "You're just this thing's just taking over you, and it's like painful." And that's all. I was just like, "Okay, cool." And I mean, it really was. It was pretty much exact, like identical to the movie. It was. Oh man, that set was wild. That was so cool. It was at the convention center in Atlanta, and they picked me up from the hotel and drove me there. And then after we got in costume, they made us wear all these, these long black robes. And Riz Ahmed and I were joking about how ridiculous we looked, and and then you get in the convention center, and one floor is just this enormous laboratory with, even far back in the background, there's all the working screens and everything. I was like, geez. So you could tell it was my first time being on a massive like studio set where I just did, holy shit. That was what I said when I walked in. That was a good one. I really enjoyed working on that show.
It is a small part, but I think you kind of convey a lot with your face. Were you given any kind of like a background story for the character of Isaac, or did you create one for yourself? It did seem like he was there on his own accord. Like nobody forced him there.
Oh
He was
yeah.
willing, you know?
Well, really what it was because I tend to do that a lot, whereas I kind of just, I don't know. I mean, like we had said earlier, I really do. I just kind of wing it. Like whatever, it's like something kind of pulls at my chest, like go in this direction. And if I book whatever it is, and like, so it's like I just go by instinct, and it's very helpful if you have someone like Riz that you're acting with, because he was just, man, he was so great. He was so encouraging too. But yeah, it was pretty much like I kind of go at a very basic. I don't want to be here right now. What did I get myself into? Why am I here right now? And that's yeah, that's pretty much how I played it, was like that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just me, but the way it's played, I felt some sympathy for Isaac, as opposed
Oh,
to kind of like
good.
I feel like a character like that in other movies, I think the kind of cliche way to go is to play like, no, I don't want to be here. Like, what are you guys doing to me? And you don't sympathize with those people, and you're like, well, I don't give a shit what happens to this guy, right? With Isaac, it's like he's kind of going through with it. He's listening to the directions given to him. And for me, at least, I felt sympathetic when now he's got like going through this very painful event and all that. So
Oh,
it's
good.
just,
That's what I was
oh,
hoping for.
yeah, it's just one of those things that stuck out. That's why I reached out to you. Like when I watched Twisted Metal, I was like, dude, and again, we'll get to Shepard because like he was one of those characters that really stood out to me. You know,
Oh, thanks, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thanks, man.
Tyler, what was
A lot
one
of
of the was that one movie you wanted to ask him about?
Oh yeah, Master Gardener.
Oh my
One
God.
of
Oh,
my maybe my favorite movie of that year.
are you serious?
I
Oh, dude.
love Paul Schrader. Yeah, I mean, I just want to know, like, what's it like working with Paul Schrader?
Man, I'll tell you what. This was really cool. I mean, not cool. It was cool initially, and so I was doing this other movie, um, and I already knew that I was going to be working on Master Gardener, and I was working out one day, and I had to go to work the next, like, and I had to go to work on set the next day, and I started noticing my arm was really hurting, and it was weird. It looked like hours later that it looked like I had just worked out, because it was still all pumped up and it was all veiny, and I was like, huh. I looked at my wife and I was like, this looks funny. Anyway, fast forward, turns out I had blood clots, and so I finished this movie while being in the hospital back and forth, and then they had to do major surgery. And the first thing I asked, because it was several weeks later, and I told them, okay, but on this day is where I start. On February 8th is when I start this movie. I would not be so concerned with it, but it's Paul Schrader, and I really love Paul Schrader. So anyway, I did the surgery. Like I had the surgery. Ended up being a massive thing. I had to get a rib removed.
Wow.
All this stuff. So it was on a Saturday. I got home, and then Monday was when I had to be on set. So if I look a little loopy through the movie, it's because I was on a massive amount of painkillers while I was working.
I mean, I think it probably helped, fits the
I think so
character.
too.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because Paul like knew that, like as soon first day, as soon as he had seen me, oh, how are you? You okay? And then we started chatting about it. He had been sick too. He had gotten freaked out that he was like, he had had a death scare. So he said that that was a nice related thing or whatever. And he's great. If you're doing what he wants you to do, he doesn't give you direction. He'll just say, you, and like he pointed to one person, you don't look scared enough. Just be more scared. You're fine. Keep doing what you're doing. And that's pretty much what he would do as a director. And it was mostly listening to his stories. Because especially a lot of the time, like because those setups take forever, and sometimes doing one scene it takes even longer. And again, I was still recovering from surgery, so I couldn't even lift my arm up like this high. I had the stitches, everything, like it had literally just happened. And Joel Edgerton is calling me a maniac and for showing up to work like that. And just listen to him and Paul. But Paul is like it's kind of one of those things where you don't think about it until much later that like, holy shit, that was Paul Schrader. Oh my god. And so it was amazing, but I was drugged up while I was doing it, which was unfortunate. But it was cool. But nobody's ever brought up Master Gardener. I didn't even know anybody saw it.
Oh,
I
I love it.
You loved it?
His current trilogy of just like uh broken white men writing in journals, like First Reformed
Yeah.
and Card Counter. Like I'm just
Card Counter was
in
great.
heaven. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And
Oh, dude,
you
I'm
were great.
glad.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That was the city I live in. I know a lot of junkies.
The
I'll say it's based on.
not I wouldn't be surprised if you have some trauma related to hammers
Oh yeah,
after you
dude.
got your knees bashed in. Brutal
That was
brutal
fun.
scene.
Oh, dude, that was. I kept laughing about it too. So I was like, "Wow, that's so bad." I kept looking at Joel Edgerton like, well, one because I love Joel Edgerton, but it's also just like he's a goofball. Like he just goofs around, but he's still doing his character's voice, but doing like dad jokes. And just with the hammer, he kept making it. He just kept making it so goofy, and I was like, God, man, it's just such a brutal way to get, instead of just like
Oh,
get kicked or punched, but it's like, nah, man, he's smashing freaking kneecaps with a hammer, like amazing. It was great, dude. I'm glad you watched it and enjoyed it.
oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Like
Hell yeah.
Tyler continues to surprise me with like the stuff that he watches. Like even I think I'll discover something that's super obscure and be like, "Hey, do you know about this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I own the 4K version or
I
whatever."
love that. It's amazing, dude. I love that.
Just keep giving me more. I don't even know anything about them. I just want to absorb it all.
Oh man, you might like one I did. It started making the festival circuit. Hopefully it'll come
Ooh,
out soon, but it's a Juggalo
is it?
movie.
Oh
Off ramp.
yes, yeah.
Off ramp. Oh
Looking forward to
dude.
it.
Oh dude, it's good. It's I get
What
I'm
what
gonna be
can you
working with that
share?
director again. Oh dude, that it is ah, think of like if you could take a trauma, if you could make super art house like Eastern European art house cinema from the 70s and merge it with some trauma, just garbage movie, and then make it wholesome also. It is a grotesque and beautiful movie, and I'm really excited for people to see it. And also Um, it's one of my favorite characters I've ever played easily. He's in a wheelchair and he's terrifying. he's
Oh,
like he's like an ex what are they called, juggalo.
okay.
Is there a date for it, or is there a way
Not
to?
released yet.
Okay.
We're waiting for distribution. So that's about it. But I mean, it's been doing well on the festival circuit. So fingers crossed we get picked up soon because we have a sales rep, or the director and producers have a sales rep, and fingers
So
crossed that would be
I mean, I'm excited about it. You know, I definitely want to see. I mean, you seem to be pretty proud of about this project and the character, so I want to see what you brought to the table. So before you got on, we were trying to find you in Bill and Ted Face the Music. So we saw you as like, Jesus, but what about young Ted?
Oh, dude, that was all of this started because I was doing this series. I was doing this series looking for Alaska, and it was like my last episode and my last day, and then I was going to go out of town and I was going to go celebrate, and the casting director had hit up my agent and said, "Hey, does Jared have a free day?" Like, okay. And so, do you want to play Jesus? And I was like, because at that time I was just like everybody and their mother, when I had long hair and when I had facial hair, would bring that up, and I hated it. You know who you look like? Who? That's how internally that's me. Who? Oh, you're so clever. You know what I mean? So he asked, and I was like, sure. So I did it, and then just like screwing around like in between takes, just chatting with the director and the writer, and then they kept me on like two more days as Jesus, and then on my last day, I was leaving. So I was like, oh, sweet, I'm wrapped out. And I had also gotten a really good rapport with the makeup artist, Bill Corso. So the PA says, hey, Jared, Bill wants you in his trailer. And I was like, sweet. It means they're going to take the beard, everything off. Um, Tommy Lee was supposed to be one of those people in the I guess like the elders or whatever they're called that they stand.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was supposed to be one of like Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, and he was. I met him in the trailer, putting our makeup on. He was just like, "Hey, what's up, man, Tom?" And I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" That's it was funny, and Bill said, "Yeah, Tom just he left." I was like, "What do you mean he left?" He was like, "Yeah, he just got tired of sitting around set, so he left." You're the same. You look like you're the same size as him. Turns out I am. So they threw that outfit on me and then billed me as that character. And then the director like called. He was like, "Hey, we don't have a body double. How tall are you?" And it's like 6'2". And then yeah, so then that's how the young Ted, which was just from behind. That's all it was. But it was
What
one
I
of
thought.
those like, yeah, it was one of those like it's supposed to be a day and turned into like 2 weeks of work, which was great. But the whole time I kept being like, this, because I kept laughing. It's like, this is so goofy. Because the whole time I just kept thinking, like, why in the world do you just keep bringing me into this? I just keep coming back. I just keep coming back to it. And I can't think of his name. The one who plays Ted. Is it Ted?
Keanu Reeves?
Um, Not Keanu Reeves.
Oh, Alex
Alex Winter.
Winters? Bill?
Alex went. Oh man, he kept making jokes about, well, you're back, huh? Good to see you again. I'll see you. And he would just keep saying, I'll see you tomorrow. Uh, it was a fun shoot. Um, it was shot pretty much like an indie film, like a smaller crew. And I think it's because their budget, like they had a bigger budget and the budget got cut for some reason. I don't remember why, but yeah, most of it ended up being like green screens and, Keanu hanging out of his he had like an old school trailer. Like it looked like something that he pulled up in himself, like that kind of thing. Like one from the 80s that you would hang out on the beach, like, that
It's the same trailer
that
from
kind
the
of
original movies.
Which
it
they
had to have been.
come tow it in on one of his motorcycles every day.
Yeah, it just looked like that. It was one of those things. He was really cool. I mean, everybody does the same stories, and then you meet him, and he's delightful, really low key,
So
but
I don't
very
know if you um shared screens with these people, but there's a couple movies that I saw that you did with some high profile actors. There was the Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise, right? Then Charlie
movies.
something, Charlie something with Pierce Brosnan.
Oh my God, I did that in between episodes of Twisted Metal. I did Fast Charlie with Pierce
That's
Brosnan.
Charlie.
Oh yeah, dude, my first day on that was with Pierce Brosnan. That was wild.
So like
Oh, that was cool.
having shared scenes with some of these actors, Mekhi Phifer included, like did
Yeah, I
it
forgot I did that with Mackay. Mackay Pfeiffer's awesome. I love him. He's cool
did
people.
did they give you any sort of advice, as like somebody new to the no, not really.
No, no, it's just I don't know. I guess because I never ask questions because I never want to be the guy that asks. Even though you should always ask questions, but I was just like I get distracted and just ask them about other things. So what do you like to do? And nothing related to whatever's going on right now. You're like with Pierce Brosnan, there's just like blood everywhere, like fake blood and bodies everywhere, and just
So
asking him
Mrs.
like,
Doubtfire, how you were in that?
yeah, just basically like that. I gave him like my mom's gumbo recipe because he was so nice. I was like, hey man, you like gumbo? You should make this for your wife. He was cool. Oh my God, he was so suave. Until I
I
called
would I would hope
my
so,
agent.
former
Oh,
former
dude.
James Bond.
Oh my God. I called my agent and I was like, dude, I want him to take me to dinner. Like, it was just, I was so flustered. He's just such a handsome man.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Twisted Metal. Maybe we can transition into that. Um, how did you book something like that? It comes to Louisiana, right? Is where a lot of the filming is done. Um, can you talk about the auditioning process and like what
Oh
were they
yeah,
looking
dude.
for? Yeah, an
Man,
Agent Shepard.
they just, I got, so what first happened was I was told about, oh, which character? Loud. Because they
Uh-huh.
didn't know what direction they were going to go in, and this was before Stephanie had signed on, or where she was cast, whatever. And so they didn't know which direction they were going to go. And at first they were like, well, yeah, the casting director was like, well, there's this character Loud, and then of course that went to um,
Cabral,
he's amazing. Yes, Richie, he's amazing.
Richie. Okay.
Uh, and anyway, so then I get Shepard, and I didn't really like I played the game a little bit when I was a kid, but I didn't really like I wasn't like I didn't know all of the characters' names. So I had one of my best friends who is an obsessive fan of the games who had to lay down which one. So he had told me who Shepard was in the game, and I was like, oh well, that's pretty cool. So then I get my sides sent to me, and I was reading them, and it was first scene that I read for was it was me and Stone teaching Stu and Mike about seagulls and shooting them, and then the other one was oh, there was I forget the other scene. Oh, it was the stop the vehicle, demand to see
Right.
their open road license.
Right,
They
right
don't.
before tasing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. So then I read for those, and it's like a day and a half later, I get a message sent. It's long enough now where I can say it, nobody will get in trouble. Casting director um, shoots me a text. He's like, "Hey, I know it's the weekend, but I don't want you to keep thinking about it." So he just sent me a screenshot from a message with he and the producers, and it said, "Let's go with Bankins. He's great." I was like, "Are you kidding me? Oh my god!"
It's
Uh,
awesome.
so that's how that one went. And man, I got to tell you, my first day, I was nervous because I was like I had an idea what I wanted to do, but it wasn't until I got there because Thomas Hayden Church is just like he's got this he's got this presence that's like scary and hilarious uncle, mixed with a surfer dude. So, and then like the vibe was totally different because I was just playing it in my head like I'm playing it so serious, like a goofball. Because I didn't read the rest, because I didn't read the rest of the script yet. Like I had just started reading, even though I should have. Anybody listening, if you get scripts, always read them before you go. But I was still like in the middle of still reading it, and then so when I get there, everything's done comedy. So it's like, you know what? Whatever. I'm gonna lean harder into it because there's nothing funnier than some jackass who takes himself too seriously.
Especially when you got kind of that like the creepy role, like the guy who just kind of like gets a little bit too close to you,
He
and
enjoys it a
everyone
little
else
too
is
much.
yeah, everyone else is kind of joking a little lighthearted. It was like, oh, but this guy, no, he's
I know,
serious.
he's like, he's actually creepy. It was, and the gum chewing was just kind of something that happened while I was there. Like I did it in my tape, but it was really light, and I didn't notice though if I was gonna, because for some reason I just think it looks, I don't know, it added something to it, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna do it because they don't always want you chewing on something while you're working, especially because for sound. Um, but then they loved it, and I had already shot the first scene, or at least one angle of coverage for one scene. I was like, oh, dude, I've already been chewing gum. Well, I better guess I just better stick with it and commit to it. And that was same thing with the way I talked. All of that. It was an amalgamation of different people that just kind of thrown together. And I was like, this is some kid who grew up, you know, hardcore into 4chan before, even though like it was Y2K, but it's still, that was the idea. Like this was some dude who was really into 4chan. He didn't have any kind of male figures growing up. It was just, he got his idea of what a man was from watching 80s action movies. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's how I'm gonna play it.
One of the things I like about him is the way he speaks is like that cadence and like he speaks to Mike one way and then to Stu a different way. Obviously,
Oh yeah.
one character is more annoying than the other kind of thing. Could you talk about like the idea behind that? Was that direction or is that just something you
Oh,
interpreted on paper?
that's how I interpret it. Because it's my dad always, my dad had this thing he did. My dad is a salesman. Uh, he always did this thing called glad hand. Glad handing is, you don't really like this person. You should be kind of nice to him. And if you know him a little bit longer and you kind of think they're beneath you, you kind of make joke. You make those jokes or you imply that I don't like you. You're beneath me. You're less than me. You stupid idiot. And the other person, I see potential in them, and the fact that they could probably do my job better than me, I want to kiss their ass and actually be friends with them. Plus, he's cool. Plus, any other reason like, that I want to be friends with him. But yeah, that was very intentional.
I think is one of the funnier scenes as well. He's talking to Mike, he's like, "Hey, love the way," paraphrasing the dialogue, right? But he's like, "The way you tasered that twat," and then like Stu says something, you're just like, or Shepard like, "What?" Like, "Oh,
Speaking
you're
of
still here, and I still have to
twats.
deal with you."
Oh yeah, what you got there, big guy?
Yeah,
Well, because I also taught, and it made it so much easier with Mike. Mike Mitchell playing Stu, because he reminded me of. There were things he did that reminded me of my nephew. My nephew just turned 10 a couple of months ago, and there were things he did that reminded me of it. I was like, if I was an asshole to my nephew, this is a hey buddy, just like such a pedantic asshole, and I'm glad you said, because like it's I always do, I really do things like, off the cuff, like whatever but it's like that stuff happened growing up, how my brothers and I would interact, or how I would see my dad interact with people. So that's, I pretty much, I guess, because of the limited experience I had, like watching either a bunch of movies or really like because of the religious upbringing, it was like I didn't really interact with too much with kids outside of this church. So my frame of reference is always things that like my dad and my brothers did. Um,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
mean,
sort of what this was.
the, Shepard is a creepy guy, but the way you play him, it's very Shepard's a normal guy that is just a little creepy at times. You know what I
I'm
mean?
glad.
Yeah, because
I'm
there's just some
glad.
guys that are just creepy all like on screen anytime you see them. But like the interactions with Mike, comical, and then later on with Quiet as well.
Oh man, that's nice, man. I really appreciate that. I always try to add I think it's because I interpret it like as each scene just as I would normally as a person. Like, okay, if this was, like if this was me and I was this type of person, this is sorry, my cat's like trying to get out. Hey, hey, stop. Sorry.
I don't know. I'm waiting for Tyler's cat to like kind of jump in at some point too.
Oh no, yeah, I had to lock them all out, or else they would be right here.
The the scene where you guys are at the checkpoint, well, what do you remember from there? Was there are you guys also like given kind of room to improvise certain lines, or is
Oh
everything on
yeah,
paper?
dude.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it was on paper except like the times when Stu keeps getting close to me asking questions, and then I put and MJ was like, or was it? I think it was MJ who was like he just runs. That's what he would do a lot of, which was hilarious. He would run up in between takes, and he'd have the paper in his hand, so he'd cover it so I couldn't see it, and then he'd just whisper something to Mike, and then like run off, and then Mike would just keep going and going and going and going, saying, like, why are my shoes too tight? So is this what we normally do? This is like he would just keep going and going. But yeah, there was a lot of room for improv, but they were pretty like dead set on let's do it by the page. Um but I think it's having that room for improv for some reason, like doing an improv and then going back to the dialogue, it kind of frees you up so you can say that dialogue in a different way. I guess with that playful attitude, which they really cultivated on set a lot, thankfully.
And the more that you're like getting comfortable with the character, I feel like you're probably like,
Oh
actually,
yeah,
I think
dude.
this is what he would do.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. You get nervous the first day or first couple days, and then uh sorry, can I open that door and get
Yeah,
my
yeah,
cat out real quick?
Yeah.
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Hold on real
yeah.
quick.
No worries.
What are you doing, pal? You gotta stop. No, no kidding. Those knuckleheads.
We probably just have like a couple more questions or so anyway. So, all right. So Agent Shepard is a lawman. You talk about any type of training you had to go to because there's a scene where you guys got to clear. Well, you kind of clear a room when you guys first meet Mike
Oh,
and Stu,
and
right?
it was
But just
pretty
like
quick.
handling weapons, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. I cannot remember her name for the life of me right now.
Is she like the
She
military
was
advisor or something?
incredible. Yeah, she was the set armor. She was
Okay.
incredible. That's all I did is I asked her a couple questions like, "Does this look right? Can you please show me what I look?" Because I don't. I'm terrified of guns. Uh, and yeah, that was pretty much it as far as that goes. I think the intention was that like these are guys that were trained by a mall security cop.
Okay, fair enough.
You know.
Forget that.
But yeah, like that was the extent of the train. But she was really good as far as key like safety and like don't hold it like that. Put your hand right here. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, that makes sense. You know. But yeah, it was still just. I mean, again, like whatever you bring to the table, just use that.
So another favorite moment of mine is episode 3 when Shepard, meets his meets his maker, I guess. Um, so that scene, you're not, exposing anything, and I didn't really look it up, but did you guys have like an intimacy coordinator for that moment?
I mean, we kind of talked about things, but it was more just like we were in this small office. Stephanie's done comedy. I mean, she was, like, and it was pretty much like we're all adults. This is a comedy. And I did have my pants were around my ankles, but I was just wearing regular shorts. Um, and I mean, the scream that was MJ told me to keep that because he liked that a lot. That was one of the things I threw in there.
That
Um,
was hilarious.
Yeah.
just just that high pitched scream. It was a very 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 small office, and it had all these lights everywhere. And then just right, it's the director Jude and MJ, and the whole time just cracking up. It was and, we were talking about we all did during COVID lockdown. That was what we did in between, like, my head getting smashed and the
Yeah.
magazine, the manga. That was fun. He like, yeah, the props master handed it to me like that, just giggling. I was like looking at it, I was like, you guys are fucking kidding me, man.
As we
Especially
get
like when
ready,
I read that that's how I was gonna die. I was like, this is amazing.
Well, and it connects it to this guy might have spent too much time on 4chan before
Oh
everything
yeah, yeah. That's a
fell.
which that's funny because I didn't even think about that until you said that. It was like, oh wow, that because my initial thing was like, this seems like a 4chan dude who's like so super edgy, and then it reinforces it with that. Of course, he was reading that. Of course, that's what he's doing that to himself with.
And that's going to be his last moments.
what uh
Poor guy.
what can you share about being the body double standing for Calypso? Which, yeah, I think Tyler, did you find that one out?
I mean, I think I just noticed the
Yeah,
credit.
you saw it somewhere. Yeah, we hadn't even seen that. Yeah.
That was I had already been wrapped out. I had finished my last episode, and it was a couple weeks went by, and then
Hey, Jared, how tall are
they
you?
yeah, it was pretty much that. Like they shoot my agent a text, and so we can't do because they did have people auditioning for Calypso because I think that they were originally going to have like him say stuff, but then it was just one of those things like for budget reasons, like let's not do that. Let's just have it as a tag on at the end. Um, yeah, dude, they were like who was it? I think it was a line producer who would just suggest, hey, we like Bankens. It was the same thing, like, uh,
Oh,
we like
was it like
Bankens.
David
Let's get
Foreman
him
or
to play.
something? Or
Yeah, let's get him to play Calypso just for this last episode. And so I mean they handmade this awesome outfit and this gargantuan, stupid looking wig, and just laughing hysterically the whole time. While all I did was it was a day. They had just finished shooting the stuff with because it was in the same place where Mike and Stu were with like their final shots with Sweet Tooth. So that
oh,
was
okay.
all in the same warehouse. So I was just sitting there in my chair wearing the full Calypso outfit with this very 80s looking hair wig, just sitting there like that. And I hadn't seen any of the crew in like 2 weeks. They all just start spotting me, and it was like it was nice. It was like some little reunion. MJ couldn't stop laughing though, because of course, I mean, I looked ridiculous. Like I looked stupid with that wig on my head.
You got any pictures of those you might be able to share, like on social
Man, I
media?
don't have any. I don't have any pics. If I did, I would have posted them
Yeah, yeah.
immediately if I
Let
had
me
them.
let me
I'm
shoot
always
some
bad about doing
messages
it.
around, see if anyone's got
You
something.
really should. You should
Yeah, I want to
shoot
see
some
that.
messages. Yeah, because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It looks good on camera, but it looks terrible in person. Have you ever seen this guitarist who has like what is his name? Michelangelo Badio. He's like this
No.
guy who does. He has a guitar with two necks that go that way, and he plays simultaneously. So look up that guy. That's what my hair looked like.
Okay.
It looked exactly like that.
Yeah.
Just super ridiculous.
Tyler, did you have any last questions for Jared?
Uh, nothing. I mean, nothing pertaining to the show. Oh, actually, other than I guess because Shepard does, meet his end in season one, but the nature of the, Calypso's wishes and stuff, possibly Stone might, wish you back if things go right. Have his partner. Who knows?
Dude,
Uh,
if they did, it'd be amazing. And also they did make jokes like they never fully wrapped me out. Because I remember even when I got wrapped out on the last episode, they were like, they didn't say that was a show wrap. They just said, and I thought at first it was a slip up, and then somebody later told me like, oh, dude, I don't know, they've got like ghosts and all kinds of shit on this show. Like, you never know. You might be back next season, but probably not. But that would be cool if they did. I would love that. I'd be there immediately.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. I would love it. Well, somebody to keep an eye on for sure. Jared, if you welcome the interactions, we're definitely going to keep an eye out for off ramp and right off ramp. And if you welcome the interaction, where can people find you?
Instagram. That's about it.
Is it Mr. underscore Bankens?
Mr. underscore Bankens, Mr. underscore Bankens, Bankens.